Good evening, everyone, and welcome to FanCast AFL. Another good Friday night show here with all the lads. We've got some very special guests today. We've got from SuperCoach Edge, we've got Damo and Liam. Thank you so much for joining us, boys. How are we?
Thank you.
Thanks
Go
for
on.
having us.
We'll start off with Liam. How are you? How's everything going, mate? Podcast going well?
Podcast going well. SuperCoach season off the rails. That's
Good start.
yeah.
We'll be kicking off straight off with SuperCoach. How is your season going? Ranking, all that?
Yeah. I think 8,000-ish, somewhere around there, which was not bad considering I think I was about 50,000 or something.
Cut your rank down pretty
cut it
pretty
down
well.
pretty well, reasonably quickly, but it's staying a bit steady now, which is sad, but we'll see how we go. No trades, so I can't do anything about it.
Do you have spare coverage, or have you just gone the full trades and baking on your 22 each week?
I've got rookies on the bench.
Matty Johnson's going to be the sub. It's fine.
Exactly.
Please. Need a loophole option.
And
I do have Walsh on the bench.
Well,
so that's the
that could come handy in a couple of weeks, maybe.
yeah, maybe.
David, what about you, mate? How have your season been going, and how are you anyway?
Yeah, going well. Thanks for having us, boys. Going quite well. Although on the weekend I did end up sliding a fair bit. I had my second highest score overall the previous week and ended up cracking the top 500 rank. And then on the weekend I just crashed back down to earth really, and I've now slid back to 7-11. So good call, but bad call in this case, 7-11. But yeah, it's hopefully I can stay inside the top 1K. But yeah, similar to Liam, I got Walsh on the bench. I got Georgie Boy Hewitt filling in at the moment, but yeah, didn't.
Anyone else from your blue baggers there, mate?
No, that's it. Literally, yeah. Try and play with your head, not your heart. So yeah, we'll see how we go though.
And sitting next to me, very special guest, my co-host from SuperCoach Insider, Chris, all the way down from Queensland.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I just thought I'd grace yourselves with my presence.
Yeah. Dave, our budget must be going really well if we're flying guys in from Queensland.
Yeah, I'm business only, guys. Thanks very much. So I suppose my SuperCoach season's almost kaput. It's all downhill from here.
It's like the pies at the moment, mate. Just it's falling apart.
It's all at the wheels. Oh my gosh, one wheel at a time too. It's just been a slow, menacing death. Like it started around the end of the buys. I was like, I think I've got a really great plan to hedge everyone. So I traded out Will Day. I traded out Harry Sheasel. I was like, yeah.
How's that working out?
Terribly. I mean, I did trade out Jay-Z as well. That was obviously a good call. I traded out Gawn. I traded him to Houston. That wasn't too bad. But yeah, Briggs on field. And then, you know what? Like, I got seduced because Ollie Wines had like a really good 5-week patch. Right before, I was like, okay, I can trade him out at his bye. And his 5-round average is like 110 because he went like 138 or something in that last like round 15 or round 14 or whatever. So I was like, nah, I'm going to hold on to him. He's averaged 68 since. Like it couldn't single-handedly. And I would love to just like try and get him to the bench. But since then, I've also had the Tom Green, Sam Walsh. So I've been playing Himmelberg every week and not able to loop him. And it's just a nightmare. So yeah. Out of the top 1,000. Nowhere near
There's
coming
time
back.
to claw it back. Come on, have faith.
My one plan is Will Day has to have a stinker tomorrow.
No. I'm loopholing Dacos this week, so I'm really hoping Day actually fires and Dacos has a real shocker.
Love to be able
great.
to loophole someone. It'd be great.
Yeah. My 24 team system or player system looks good, except for Mills and Wines as part of that 24 player system. So yeah, still inside the top 1,000 for me. So we're holding on. Hopefully, we're on this table. We can have at least 3 of us here. And
Drive by. Oh wow, got that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting and I think we're all finding the same situation where just a couple of trades we've had to burn because of injuries, and I'm sure you boys have been the exact same. Tuke Miller was my major killer, which was very frustrating. Just with the wingers, because obviously you guys are big super coaches, would you like to actually see that brought in as wingers as different positions?
Yeah, I don't mind that actually because it is such a unique position. Like in I guess AFL sense, like you're not in the engine room, they're not in the centre. Like they're both an offense and defensive player, running both ways. So I reckon, and just maybe stipulate different points. So at least like gives a bit of credence to those spots. So you can pick players specialised in that spot really.
Yeah, that would be the interesting thing, right? So when you do bring in winners as a category, unfortunately, generally speaking, there's only, say, one or two outstanding Supercoach scorers that play wing, right? So how can Supercoach modify the point scoring system to encourage that into the actual fold? I would love to see something like that. I'm just not sure how. I mean, like meters gain, for example, generally speaking, wingers have a lot of meters gains. They're run and carry type players, but meters gain is not specifically recorded in there outside.
But
of, say,
is that something
kicks.
like? I think they do say NFL and that where it's they run a certain amount of meters or yards on that particular day.
Yep.
They get an extra bonus points because they
extra, like a threshold that once they pass it.
The Telstra tracker.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually really like that one.
Yeah.
Maybe have a chat with Tim.
I'll chat that to you. I want to see them. No, that's one for our viewers. If you've got any Supercoach questions, and if you're not doing anything like on Friday, I think it's the 18th now. Head down to the pub at Crown, and you can meet a few of us boys.
I wasn't doing anything tonight.
That's what we were meant to be doing. But
exactly.
But we are here to also talk footy and talking about Tuke Miller. Very interesting week here, and just the tribunal doing their thing, a last-minute suspension for him. What did you think of the incident, boys? I gather you saw it, and any thoughts? Damo, we'll start off with you, mate.
Yeah, saw it and heard it from Zorko's mouth. It was picked up on the ump mic as well, which was quite handy. So something to the effect of, he grabbed me by the fucking balls. Like, it couldn't be any more obvious about that. But I must say, couldn't happen to a nicer bloke, first of all. No, sorry, apologies for Brisbane supporters. But no, it's a pretty low act, you could probably say, pardon the pun, but it was a strange one really. The whole thing about him being suspended, like Liam and I are actually only talking about the use of clubs and AFL especially, where they release certain things, like they time thing the release of news and stuff for certain times, and they coincided it with the release of teams, so it was buried underneath.
PR strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, classic PR 101. But I just really found it strange the fact that they went through the official process of the MRO. No, nothing to speak of. Brisbane didn't go through the official channels. They didn't submit any evidence. Zorko the same thing. And next minute, teams were announced, Took's out, and AFL's come over the top and said, no, you're gone, mate, you're gone. So, I don't know, it's really, really, what was the old Travis Cloak quote, the smoke and mirrors behind the curtains, or whatever it was?
Oh, they definitely just got them into a room and went, all right, well, we've got to do something because this guy over here won't shut up about it. And that's literally what happened.
Yeah.
Which is Zorko in a nutshell.
Pretty much.
Good pun again. Very good.
Well, I don't know if you know, but did you know that Ben actually did catch up with Zorko for a coffee this week?
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And his order was a baby chino.
You're from Queensland, mate. Has there been actually any talk? Oh, no, you guys never talk AFL up there, but has there been actually any talk about it?
No, and actually, surprisingly, the footy talk is actually all up and about when Brisbane are actually winning, which is, only once every 5 years, so that's good. No,
well, at least you had a Queensland team winning last week.
Exactly right. Look, it is major news up there, and obviously, Zorko is he captain too?
No, was.
He was former captain. Makes sense.
I think. Yeah.
Well, also, this what I don't get from me, for a pure Zorko's perspective. He's complaining in the media like you wouldn't believe. He has been suspended 11 times, twice for eye gouging, 7 times for striking.
Yeah.
This, and you've got Tuke Miller over here, who's obviously, I think he's been suspended once for a tackle.
Yeah.
Is he one of the most loved players in the AFL?
He seems like one of the nicest blokes. I don't know. I've never met him, obviously, but he seems like really, softly spoken, that sort of character. But yeah,
so I think that's why it's 1, not 3. Because if the AFL have decided, okay, we're going to suspend you, it probably should have been 3 weeks.
If Zorko did it to Tuke, it's 3 weeks to do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because he gets the Toby Green tax because
But I just can't think he definitely didn't do it on purpose. In my opinion, it was just an accident, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
What
cool.
are the chances of him actually managing to do it?
I agree. The only problem is because of these two have had this rivalry between each other for a while.
And that's it. Hey.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm going to get you, buddy. All right then. It just frustrates me because that shouldn't be how footy is, and that's what it's become this week, and that's just not on for me.
Liam, do you think this opens up the door now for other players? Because it's always seemed to be a bit of a code where players don't dob on each other. Do you think this is the start of, and we all know like the new sort of generation where I don't really want to use the term woke, but we know people are more standing up for everything that's going on. How do you think this goes forward? Do you think the players still buy by that code, or do we see more and more of this?
Potentially, but I don't want to say it, but it's Zorko, so maybe it's just a bit of a, it's him.
Yep.
I absolutely
You can say that, mate.
I mean,
It's fine.
I think it's kind of, I think it's probably a little bit just the person doing the talking, hopefully. But at the same time, I mean, if it's a shit act, like you don't want that leaking in. So I don't necessarily agree with the players' code if it's a dog act, but yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah, I mean, conversely, I mean, you roll it back a week, and the big talk was, Nathan Murphy and Willie Rioli. So, if Willie Rioli came out and said, "Yeah, I tried to hit him,"
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, that completely changes the whole context and doesn't get a week. But he goes, "Oh yeah, no, I was just trying to push him," and you go, "Oh, really? That didn't look like a push."
Yeah.
But okay, we kind of just have to believe you. And I don't know what was said from Nathan Murphy's side of things, but he probably was just like, "Well, I just don't care."
Yeah.
Whatever.
The only thing I like is it's a little bit refreshing because we talk about players not having personalities, and we've talked about that on this show. And as much as some people don't like the whole dobbing thing, at least it is like a player standing up and going, "No, this is what I thought, and this is my opinion, not just the old, inside our four walls. No, that didn't happen. Yeah, we're all good."
Yeah.
So. I don't mind if players kind of speak their mind as well.
I don't really mind that he spoke his mind. I just like the carry on is just well over the top.
And I think the way that it came about, like the fact that he got suspended kind of behind closed doors.
Yeah.
If it had been like, I know he was talking to the media, but like if the whole situation happened in front of everyone, and the penalty didn't seem like it was hidden, I think it'd feel a bit better as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's probably on, I don't know if it's Michael Christian who is responsible to do that, but maybe put a call in and just call Zorko, call the club.
Yeah.
And go, look, we know that there was an issue. We wanted to have a chat about it because the vision, the hand's there, whatever, but we don't really know. How do you gauge what is rough conduct in this sort of sense? So, have a chat to him, make a decision from there, and then go, okay, yes, it's worth a week or it's worth whatever. Maybe even at that point. But you have to kind of release that within that 24-hour period like you do everything else.
Well, it's the one thing I really agree with Damien Barrett on because there's no head of footy. There hasn't been one all year.
Oh, yeah. Ridiculous.
And, so who's sort of running the show? We know Gill's out the door and Dylan's coming in. It's just, but it does feel like, there's no sort of structure where the tribunal system's been all over the place this year. You're getting late decisions, not decisions, different decisions between the match review and then the tribunal and the appeals board. I think that's all a bit of a mess as well. And even further than that, it's like we're going into round 24. What are we 4 weeks away from that? We still don't actually have the fixture. Well, we know who's playing,
last round,
but we don't even know who's playing when and that. And people are trying to travel and work out stuff.
Well, that's probably more related to the fact that there's probably still 8 teams that can make it from 5 to 13, 14.
But don't you just then go, okay, those are the games are up for air. Let's put one Thursday night, Friday night, the Saturday night, Sunday 3:20, and it doesn't matter which one's playing where because they've got the bye the next week for the finals. Just put the big 4.
That's true.
Yeah.
With the bye at the finals, does it really matter when they're playing?
True.
Difference between a 10-day break versus
Carl, and as much as I'm sure you guys would hate it again, but the 3:20 game, Carlton playing in another situation there where it's coming down the wire for the finals.
The AFL would love it though. They're rubbing their hands together.
What a great football game that was, by the way.
It was good for maybe 99% of it. The 1% was pretty bad.
Well, I enjoyed the other one.
It's good for footy at the moment, but even us and the Bombers, results go our way and we keep winning. The season's right open. I can't remember too many seasons sort of like this where there's so many teams outside of Peru or North, West Coast and Hawthorn. Even the Suns, I don't see them beating Adelaide, but then I didn't see them beating Brisbane last week either. And
I think the ladder represents quite a gap between, say, the top 8 teams. But I think realistically, right now, there's probably 6 or 7 teams that can beat anyone on any given day.
That's the thing. Yeah.
I mean, last week proved that with Pies versus Carlton. I think Carlton obviously have come along extraordinarily in the last 6 weeks, and I think Pies kind of been complacent over the last month, really, a month of footy. So whether that stiffens them up to take a tilt at September. I'm not really sure because I think that there's legitimately, I think maybe Port sliding as well a little bit.
Yeah.
But, Brisbane, if they can get a home final and win there.
Well, that was the one Kane Corns actually, the most sensible thing he said in probably 5 years of being in the media of that, where he's like, Port will probably win one game out of their next 5 or 6, which is looking very much the case. They've got some tired bodies. Like the Pies, they look like worlds ahead, but they wouldn't want to be playing the Blues, Tigers, D's at the MCG during the final. Like
GWS, I don't want to be playing those guys either. Like realistically, and even Bulldogs. So Bulldogs, for example, and we had this chat a little bit off air, is that Richmond play them tonight. I'd rather be playing Richmond right now than playing the Bulldogs because Bulldogs can turn on in 5 minutes and have you killed with 6 goals. So very different styles, obviously, but I think we can out Richmond, whereas we can't do that. If they get on top in the clearances, it can kill the game really quickly. So, it's very even in the top. What do you guys think about the wild card?
Yeah, I was just about to say about that. I think the whole way things are playing out, with regards to how close the top 8 is and so many teams contending for the last couple of spots, works well for the AFL. I think they'll be rubbing their hands together with the argument about maybe we should bring in the wild card round. So I guess I like it from some aspects, like this year, obviously, but I think there will be other years where it's more pretty obvious as to who the top or the best top 8 teams are. And teams that are in 9th, 10th, 11th spot, whatever, how far down they want to extend it to in terms of the wild card games. But yeah, I think it will work sometimes, but other times maybe not so much. But yeah, from a business perspective, AFL will be loving it because it's extra games, extra money, revenue, all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, completely agree. I love the idea. I mean, I'm a huge NBA fan as well. Fortunately,
I'm NFL as well. So yeah,
okay. Yeah. So this sort of thing, it does keep your team in it a little bit longer. Yeah. You don't have to shut the shop. Generally, right now, a lot of teams outside of this year, where there's still quite a lot of teams that can make the 8. Usually, there's only really 8, 9, maybe 10 teams that can try and push for that. Yeah. When you open it up to 10, all of a sudden, unless you're bottom 4, you've got a legitimate chance to get into that 10th spot.
There's more to play for, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, which is reverses tanking laws, which is good. That I think we all want that. We all encourage that, so that you're not just rolling out the young kids, just get the kids a run or whatever. Unless you're Richmond and you just think that you can just rest.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll make the 8, don't worry.
We'll be right.
Just managed. He'll be right. It's all good.
We'll move on. There's been a few re-signings. Well, you've had Redmond sign back up, and Himmelberg, the big one, where he seemed to be going everywhere but staying at the Giants, and come out with a big 5-year deal worth about $800K a year there. Is there any other boys that you think are going to definitely be on the move, or we look at a bit of a trade chat here? Is there anybody that comes to mind that you think, that player? I know there's still the parishes up in the air, but we can cover that. We'll start off with you there, Liam.
I don't know. I mean, it's actually quite interesting. On Essendon Twitter, there's a lot of people who are talking about him we need to get rid of him. It's really interesting. There's some stats about him, we lose more games with him than we don't, but they're very selective stats because
I've seen that. I've seen that on your forums.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Sorry.
No, you're right.
And I'll call it out because I think it's selective. It looks at teams that we were likely to lose against anyway. So I think there's a lot of people going, let's just trade him. Who cares? We don't need him. I mean, I'd be surprised if there'd be many teams who didn't want to parish.
What you can get from him might be worth it, though.
That's the only difference. But
could you package him up with, say, you guys are going to get pick 4 this year? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No,
shoot for the stars.
Well, Parish plus whatever your first pick is could be Harley Reid, for example.
Potentially.
I think the writing's going to be on the wall on the next 4 weeks because if we see, is it Sitars? How do you pronounce his? I'm terrible at pronunciation.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to see him play.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
You've already got Setagoat there ready to come back as well. So, who knows?
Hobbs, Perkins, I still think his best role is in the midfield long term, but be sort of half forward running through there. Caldwell as well. The Bombers aren't short of midfielders.
No.
And that's before we talk about the captain, what we just talked about with Merritt in there as being a lock. So you think Dylan Shield probably maybe if it's a retirement or looks at alternative options.
Yeah. Nice shoes though.
Yeah. But the Bombers do seem to have some really good players in there. And then the hard thing is where you actually are lacking. There's a lot of talk about Zerk Thatcher moving on because maybe Ben Mackay is coming to join the Bombers. I haven't heard anything from anybody else to say it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But
is that an upgrade? I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I think it's an upgrade on Zerk just because I think Zerk Thatcher's body's still going to develop.
Yeah.
But the worry is he actually hits the gym in a few off seasons, and he could have been a cheaper, as good a version as Ben Mackay.
Exactly.
What about the Blue Baggers, mate? It's because you guys have been very active trade period. Have a very interesting list management where 8, 9, 10 players take up the majority of the salary cap. Do you think what do you think you'd like to see your boys do?
If you asked me the same question maybe 7 weeks ago, I would have said just clear the decks. But apart from maybe the core four that we've got, but I think at the moment we've kind of built out the the midfield quite well. Defence is maybe was lacking, but I think with Brody Kemp taking the step up as well in the key position stock, he's going quite well. And then of course with Big Mackay and Charlie as well. We're quite good up forward. I think in terms of any movement in Carlton's side of things, it's probably Paddy Dow. I'm a big fan of Paddy Dow, and he's always week after week he's named as a sub. And
every Carlton fan is a fan of Paddy Dow.
Yeah.
The problem is he's just no good.
Yeah, it's just like hanging on to that potential. It's like could he?
Oh, you don't want to trade him, and then he goes to somewhere else.
That's
and then
the
all
worry.
of a sudden he's an A-grade player.
Well, it's like Setterfield, the Setter goat. Like I was a big fan of him as well, but he just wasn't played in the traditional role. Like he was played in defence, played on the wing. I'm like, just play him in the engine room, and then obviously he gets the opportunity at the Dons, and surprise, he actually performs well. But I don't know, like in terms of players that we'd try and target, just consolidate. Maybe if there's any other players out there that could potentially replace Akers, maybe. I don't know. Just
I actually really liked that trade. I thought he was going to bring a lot to them.
I did as well. He's
been okay.
He's been okay.
And maybe a second year in, as you get used to playing with your teammates and stuff like that, you'll see more of them like that. You've actually got upside because you haven't seen much of Zach Williams just because of injuries. Even Jack Martin's finally starting to get his body right and playing some footy. So, there's guys there that you've brought in, and like we saw what Chera, really started coming out of his shell this year, and because he's got a full run of it. So I think there's a lot of upside and potential there for the Blues if they can keep them on the park. Probably that's what you need to trade for. Go and get who's the guy that Adelaide brought in from Liverpool? The fitters.
He used to be at Melbourne as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so probably some new fitness staff and medical team over the
It's
Blues.
a bit like that. It's probably a good thing that we need as much depth as we can get because of that very reason.
Well, I personally think you should trade Mackay. I think
I've been big on this. Yeah.
Kerner plays 10 times better when he's not there. They run to the same spots. They don't utilise the 50 well enough together. And they both want to be the man. Trade one of them out, you'll get a bag of picks for them.
And it frees up about 800, 900,000 of salary cap.
Can go get those pieces that they need, because really, in my opinion, what Carlton lack, they're very top heavy with their list. If they can just plug a few players into those holes, role players, you don't need to go and search and spend that on one player. Go grab some role players with all the picks that you get, or get some more youth coming through. I think that they have a good 5-6 years. So.
I know Benny always bags me because of my talking with Max Holmes, and it seems to be potentially gettable. Like the Pies are apparently big into him, and with all the rumours about Bailey Smith could be pushed out or even moving on himself, and Geelong seems like the obvious one where there was a lot of rumours about Parrish being linked to them early on, and then that cooled, and these Bailey Smith rumours, and maybe it is a case of Smith and then Holmes is the one that gets pushed out. I think somebody like him could be very useful for Carlton because that extra winger, and he's got some good speed about him, and his age, I think he's only 2021. So maybe it's somebody like, if you could bring like him and one other player with Mackay's money, and then that would just round off your list nicely.
Yeah, I don't mind. I know the suggestion was kind of blew up from Hutchie mentioned it on Footy Classified, and then from there it grew legs and whatnot. And I think Brian Cook had to come out and say, "No, we're not trading." It's just ridiculous talk. I don't mind the discussion, but I think personally, seeing them week after week again, if you ask me the question 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, when our game plan was just absolutely putrid, the way that both of those boys were being played, they were virtually playing the same role. And to your point as well, they were running to the same spots. They, we're literally just guarding the same space. It's what are you doing? No leading patterns, where I think now we've only seen a small snapshot when that game plan was switched. kicking to leading patterns and whatnot, and going down the corridor. Thank Christ, Vossi listened. Annoyed the hell out of me early on, but I think we've only seen a small snapshot before Harry actually got injured to see both of those boys working together in this good game plan. But I don't mind the discussion, but I think personally, if we get rid of him, we're maybe going to find, just because Charlie's going to be the main focal point, he's double teamed, triple teamed. You kind of need someone of his caliber, like Harry's caliber, to offset the attention a bit. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting talk anyway. I think that clubs are generally reluctant to trade their stars. They're more afraid of what they will get at the draft or what they can get outside of that rather than what they do have.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that flip. I love player movement. I think it's awesome.
Best,
Again, massive NBA fan. So every offseason, trade day, there's 30 trades and you're try to wrap your head around it. What's going on here? The whole league's just shifted. So.
It's amazing because the criticism, especially from one particular former Port Adelaide player, the mates with us with getting in Taranto and Hopper and giving up picks but picks can be like anything. Yeah, okay, they can turn out to be good stars, but we see there's more than enough evidence that a lot of picks don't come on. And I'm more than happy to have two ready-made players filling a gap that was definitely helping us on a long-term view. So it'd be interesting to see what we do now that it looks like Damo is going to come back from Italy and take over the Suns for 5 years. If any of the senior Richmond players maybe jump ship for leadership roles or coaching roles and stuff like that, which would free up some salary cap for us, but then potential to either bring picks or trade. I know that the Suns are looking at moving their first round pick because of all the academy players that they
we'll
have.
just get Geelong involved.
So, I'm more than having my boys for once. We'll wrap up with one more last topic, and not that there's much for you guys to do trade-wise, but just while you're here, mate, the Pies.
Yep.
Mate, obviously having a fantastic season under Fly. No fair play. They look great. So, is there any actually holes there, or do you see this has just got to lead to a premiership, or what are your views?
I do think that we, unfortunately, we're playing good footy. Don't get me wrong, and I think for the first time in a long time, you could probably look to the Pies and say, look, they're probably the best team in the comp at the moment.
100%.
But they also can just drop 5%, and when they drop 5%, they can get rolled. They've just been lucky enough that they're so good at closing games that sometimes it just doesn't matter because they just come back in the last quarter. Obviously, that didn't happen last week, and that you can't. I don't think they're going to be able to rely on that going into a finals campaign. So they need to start being on the front foot a lot more. It starts with trying to settle their front. I think their front six needs to be settled, which is right now not settled. And we actually have a ridiculously healthy list. I think the first time in 3 years.
Does Mason get back in?
No. And look, again, it's with Dan McStay in there, you don't really need what he offers in the ruck. He was earlier in the season going forward and making a big impact on transition, and he just hasn't been doing that lately. And I'm not too sure why, but I just think that we need to be a little bit more mobile in the front half, and he just doesn't bring that. I really like what I saw out of Jeremy Howe forward last week. I'd love to see that at maybe a full game.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's not going to kick 3 goals a quarter over 4 quarters or something like that, but I think he adds a different dynamic. What that does do, unfortunately, though, is that pushes Jamie Elliott out of the square because he's generally a square player, and part of the reason why he's so good is so quick on the lead, can mark overhead, but he's from the square, not just as a roaming player that's a support player. So having that Jeremy Howe there changes that. Ash Johnson, I don't know if he's the answer either. I'm not really in love with that. I prefer to see Billy Frampton come in, and then he'll play behind, move Jeremy Howe forward. Don't like Frampton forward either, to be honest. But he's got pace. He can use the ball well. I think that Pye's biggest weakness is the big forwards, the gorilla forwards. They just get a hold of us. Like, obviously, Kurnow had 6 last week. Whenever we play Geelong, Hawkins and Cameron just have their way with us. I really just want, and Murphy's okay and he's been really good in patches, but he's not really a lockdown defender, in my opinion. He's not good enough to battle with the big boys. I want to see Frampton back there with Moore. Moore should be a chop out, not necessarily lockdown player. He's no Sam Taylor, unfortunately. I think Sam Taylor's that good. He just needs to be off ball just that little bit, give a little bit of teasing room, and then come in over the top, and that's really more specialty. So I think they're just slight adjustments. They've made them during the year because of necessity, but I want to see them make them now because they're trying to get better.
Yeah.
And I think Hill coming in really improves us because pace at ground level is massive. But yeah, just those changes I'd like to see. And yeah, I mean, if we can get that right before the finals, yes, we're a shot. But also, I think that we're pretty fortunate. I think we probably play Brisbane round 1. I think that might happen.
Yeah.
I think that they slide to 4th and Melbourne come up into 2nd. So if we can get that fixture, then, it's probably a preliminary final. Like, I don't think that Brisbane will be able to have the firepower at the G.
At the G as well, especially.
I think it's all when you play one of the MCG teams, and that's where you just don't want one of these elimination finals, be it, grand final or prelim against Melbourne or Carlton or one of the teams that are used to playing on the G. If it's Port or Brisbane, I don't think you're going to have any worries.
I think it's going to be one of those two. And then I actually think that based on like what I think happens, which is not gospel, but I think that Geelong probably plays an elimination final against Brisbane in that week too in Brisbane. And Geelong could topple Brisbane there. Like they're the team that they've got the experience that if they can win on that day. And if I was Brisbane, I would hate that the team that I've got to knock off to get through at home is Geelong. Oh. But, they probably deserve it after Zorko's chat.
It's one of those seasons. And just one final. The Bombers, any chance? Next 2 weeks, big games?
No, I don't think so.
Yep.
But, and again, Essendon Twitter is going to blow up and be like, "Ooh, we didn't make the finals." But at the end of the day, end of last season, I thought we'd be a bottom 4 side. Mm-hmm. So I think, and if you go through the games that I thought we'd win, we won. And the games I thought we'd lose, we'd lose. And we probably won a few that I didn't think we'd win. So overall happy, but...
I thought they've been bottom 4 for the last 3 years, so...
Well, it's good timing anyway, facing West Coast and North, because their percentage is 98.4, which is behind everyone bar the Tigs. So you need the percentage boost anyway. So a couple of wins there and percentage boost might get you in there.
Exactly. And the Blues, what's your expectations here? Because as you said, 6-7 weeks ago, if we could somehow make finals on that,
it wasn't even in the thought.
It wasn't even, But now the situation you've got yourself in, what is the expectation for the Blues final? Is it now, I want to see us win a final, just making it? I want us to push towards that semi-prelim. What are the Blues supporters and yourself thinking?
Probably lower the expectations off the back of being burnt from the pies in the last round last year. But I think realistically, it'd just be awesome to make the finals. We haven't made it in over a decade or something, so it's a long time coming. So I'd be happy enough with that. But I'm just happy with what we're seeing at the moment. Just the turnaround in form. I didn't think it would come so quick. Like I thought it would actually take Voss to be sacked, and then I think we've got the building blocks here. We've always have. Like the spine of the team's pretty good. But just the way that the team was being played, and as we can see now, they've shifted the game plan and they've come good. But I'm still worried this weekend against the Saints. We usually lose to them, no matter how we're actually going. GWS, they're in awesome form as well. So we're facing a couple of teams there that are vying for these spots. So it is still quite worrisome. But if we can beat the Saints this weekend, then it'll give me a little bit more comfort. A little bit.
I just think that with Carlton, they just got to not be out-coached the next couple of weeks. Because Ross can seriously do a number on Carlton. And I just really hope that just doesn't show that Ross really, especially game day coaching. Yeah. I think the system is great. And after watching it last week, I was just nervous a little bit. Don't worry about me, I'm okay.
Well, I hope the dream happens. The Tigers get on a run, Bombers get on a run, and then we end up, and the Giants somehow choke, and we get the Carlton, Essendon,
exactly,
and Richmond.
I think Carlton Richmond's a chance.
In that bottom four, like the bottom half of the 8, because there'll be nothing better than Richmond Carlton or Richmond Essendon or Carlton Essendon come first week of finals, because you're good luck getting a ticket to that, because there'll be 100,000 people wanting to, especially if it's Carlton Essendon. That would be something awesome.
I think last time we played finals was off the back of the Dons losing their spot off the Asada side. Beating you boys. So we're all connected in some way, shape or form. So.
And on that note, we'll wrap it up for this. This has been FanCast AFL. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you soon.